Mr. Speaker, the voluntary re-entry of Fort McMurray started yesterday, and Highway 63 expected to be incredibly busy as people from Fort McMurray begin to return home. With workers from and residents starting to make their way home, it's important that those traveling back on the highways to Fort McMurray can also do so in a safe, manageable way. To the Minister of Transportation, was the highway affected by the fire, and can it handle the traffic expected over the next few weeks and months?
Thank you very much.
Minister of Transportation.
Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to report that the highway infrastructure was not damaged by the wildfire at Fort McMurray. The RCMP removed all barricades on 63 yesterday morning. We're tracking vehicle traffic volumes on Highway 63 and 881. As of noon today, roughly 3,000 vehicles have traveled into Fort McMurray. I'm pleased to say, Mr. Speaker, that the twinning of Highway 63 is now complete, and I think that this will aid us considerably in a smooth reoccupation of the city of Fort McMurray. Thank you.
First supplemental.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And given that Highway 63 is the main way in and out of the city, and given that the understandable but extremely long delays in exiting from the highway when the victims fled their homes, again to the Minister of Transportation, what is the Minister doing to ensure the re-entry process goes smoothly as possible?
Thanks very much, Mr. Speaker. Well, we have more than 100 Alberta Transportation staff that are working closely with the RCMP and the other stakeholders to monitor the traffic flows and the overall conditions on the highway during re-entry. Our traffic management plan is in effect from Anthony Hendy Drive all the way to Fort McMurray, with digital message signs along the highways to update drivers with road condition information. We have traffic counters in place, and this will allow us to distribute any information about traffic conditions to the public very quickly, Mr. Speaker.
Second supplemental.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Given that some residents who evacuated either had to leave their vehicles along their way or may no longer have access to the vehicles to get back, again to the same minister, what transportation supports and services will be available to help people return home?
Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the member for the question. Though many evacuees do have access to a vehicle, we know that a lot of people had to leave their vehicles behind when they evacuated the city. And the Red Cross is there to provide regular bus service to Fort McMurray for people who had to leave their vehicles behind. We're working to connect people with their abandoned vehicles for the last few weeks, ever since the initial evacuation. And people who have abandoned vehicles on the highway can call 310-4455 or visit emergency.alberta.ca for details on how to retrieve their vehicles, Mr. Speaker.